This is Countryside News Channel, your official online and cable news channel, giving you the latest information from the province of Lanao del Norte, Countryside News Channel. CS News Channel, News Flash.
Madam Speaker, we move to recognize the gentleman from Lanao del Norte, Honorable Cali Maporo, to sponsor the budget of the Autonomous Region Government in Muslim Mindanao.
Any objections? Hearing none, motion is approved. Honorable Opapp is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On behalf of the Autonomous Regional Government in Muslim Mindanao, today is a historic moment for them because since the creation of the Armm, they have been regularly, annually coming to the House of Representatives to defend and propose their budget for the following calendar year. But with the passage of the Bangsamoro Organic Law, the budget being presented today will ultimately, God willing, be turned over to the Bangsamoro Transition Authority. So I'd like, on behalf of the Bangsamoro and the Armm, present here in the plenary the 2019 budget of 31 billion 117 million pesos. Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Dimapara, Majority Floor Leader.
Madam Speaker, we'd like to move to recognize the Honorable Shirley Tan for her interpellation of the budget of the Armm. So move, Madam Speaker.
Any objections? Hearing none, motion is approved. Honorable Tan is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, during the Armm budget deliberations for the 2017 budget, this representation asked from the Honorable Speaker that RG Hataman be directed to submit the following documents to this Honorable Committee, and they are the following. 1. Demand letters sent by the Office of the Armm RG to the different regional government agencies concerned. 2. Copies of the breakdown of disbursements. 3. List of personnel who incurred unliquidated cash advances, including the demand letters both from the previous administrations up to the administration of Regional Governor Hataman. And 4. Copies of the bank reconciliation of the Armm government, which does not tally with cash in bank balance. In response, Mr. Hataman undertook to furnish this body with a copy of the documents requested. However, until now, the regional governor fails and continues to fail to furnish this body and this representation the copies of the documents so requested, thereby effectively preventing this representation from exercising her function, an act which principally affects my duties as a member of the House. Madam Speaker, this has been the case of Armm government, which always seems to get away with accountability over unimplemented projects, which funds allocated therefore remain to be accounted for. To continue, Madam Speaker, the Armm government still has the temerity and audacity to ask for more infrastructure projects, notwithstanding their failure to implement 2017 and 2018 projects without offering a valid explanation for their failure to implement the same. Worse, the funds allocated therefore cannot be accounted for properly. At this point, Madam Speaker, may I call on COA and the other concerned government agencies and our constituents in Armm to be vigilant to ensure that the people's money goes where it is due. Madam Speaker, kahit kailan ay hindi naging intensyon ng kusog-tausog party list na harangan ang pagkakaroon ng malaking pondo ng Armm. Gusto lamang ng kusog-tausog party list na siguraduhin na ang pondo na binibigay sa Armm ay napupunta talaga sa taong bayan. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, there being no more members of the minority who wish to interpellate, I move to terminate the budget of ARMM on the part of the minority, Madam Speaker.
The interpellation of the ARM. Majority Floor Leader.
Madam Speaker, we join the minority in terminating the deliberation of the budget for the ARMM. And with that, Madam Speaker, we move that we terminate now the period of interpellation for the budget of ARMM. So move, Madam Speaker.
Any objections? Hearing none, motion is approved. Congratulations.
Motion to suspend. Madam Speaker.
Session suspended. What office are we delivering?
Comelec.
For Comelec. Thank you. Is there any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved. Majority Floor Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we recognize the gentleman.
Honorable Dimaporo.
Khalid Dimaporo.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved. Honorable Dimaporo is recognized. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to present to the floor the 2019 budget for the Commission on Elections for the total amount of 10 billion pesos, 10,079,929,000 pesos. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Dimaporo. Majority Floor Leader. Before we proceed with the interpellation, I would like to welcome the Comelec family for their presence. Thank you for your presence today. Majority Floor Leader, please proceed.
Madam Speaker, I move that we recognize the representative from Armm, Congressman Mac Mending.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved. Honorable Mac Mending is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Assalamualaikum again. Good afternoon. Our very good friend from Lanao del Norte, I'm sure, will accept questions.
Yes, Madam Speaker. It's always a pleasure to accept questions from Amin Party List.
Madam Speaker, my solitary question pertains to the upcoming plebiscite on January 31, whether to approve or disapprove Republic Act 11054 or the Bangsamoro Organic Law. That is the only question that I am asking, Madam Speaker, distinguished sponsor. Do we have funds or appropriations intended to be used for the plebiscite on January 21, Madam Speaker, distinguished sponsor?
Madam Speaker, as far as the Bangsamoro Organic Law is concerned, it was enacted upon or signed as a Republic Act after the SONA, after the President submitted his proposed budget for 2019 this June. So unfortunately, the budget for the plebiscite, which is scheduled sometime January, is not found in our GAA. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, distinguished sponsor. May we know from the Commission on Elections how much is necessary to be able to conduct the plebiscite?
Madam Speaker, the total amount is 857 million pesos for the plebiscite for the Bangsamoro Organic Law.
Madam Speaker, distinguished sponsor, thank you. I believe there is enough time for us here in the House to be able to put in our General Appropriations Bill the necessary funds or appropriation for the conduct to ensure that the people, that our constituents will be able to exercise what we call sovereign will, to be able to determine the sovereign will of the constituents involved in this exercise. We have to ensure that there are appropriations necessary to cover the expenses for the plebiscite. Madam Speaker, distinguished sponsor, are we assured that the General Appropriations Bill of the House is going to contain the necessary appropriation? Madam Speaker, distinguished sponsor.
Madam Speaker, I am one with the Honorable Mac Mending that the House of Representatives, especially the 17th Congress, under the leadership of our Speaker, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, must fully support the wish of our President that peace will reign in our region of Mindanao. And unfortunately, if we will not provide the adequate funding for the Bangsamoro to have a plebiscite and ideally be ratified so that the people, the Moro people inside the ARMM can finally experience or have their promise fulfilled that there will be a Bangsamoro within the time of President Duterte. I agree with the Honorable Mac Mending of Amin Party List that the 17th Congress or this budget deliberation should resolve the funding shortage of 857 million for Comelec. But in the event that it does not happen, I have been told that Comelec can source some of this amount from their savings from the barangay elections, and the rest will be up to Malacanang to hopefully resolve. I put my faith in our President that he will not fail the Moro people and he will not fail the Bangsamoro. Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, distinguished sponsor, thank you very much, and we will expect that definitely on January 21, we will have a plebiscite for the ratification of Republic Act 11054. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Thank you very much.
The fiscal autonomy of this commission on election. So why is it that the commission on election approve the decrease or zero allocations on identified items?
Madam Speaker, I think it's maybe not the proper use of words to say that the Comelec approved these cuts. As a matter of fact, I think they are trying to reject these cuts, and hopefully it will be restored by the Department of Budget and Management, if not fixed here in the House of Representatives.
So may I now therefore ask the support of our distinguished sponsor, Madam Speaker, so that these cuts by the DBCC could be restored to the budget of the Comelec.
Yes, Madam Speaker, and for the information of the body, as far as Comelec is concerned, for the fiscal year 2019, the Comelec submitted to the Department of Budget and Management a proposed budget of 15.9, roughly 15.9 billion pesos. What was approved in our NEP is only 6 billion pesos. That's a big slash, Madam Speaker. That's a big slash, Madam Speaker. And for us to have a successful, honest, orderly, and peaceful elections, what at the very least the Comelec needs is 8 billion pesos. So I hope under the leadership of our Speaker, Speaker Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, we can convince the Honorable Secretary Ben Jokno, that if he has to slash budgets, let us not be cheap when it comes to our national elections. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I join the Honorable Franz Castro in her manifestation that we should not slash so much from the Comelec.
I move that we recognize the gentleman from the 3rd District of Camarines Sur, Representative Gabriel Bordado.
Any objections? Hearing none. Motion is approved. Honorable Bordado is recognized. Please proceed.
Speaker, thank you very much. I fully agree with the position taken by my colleague, the Honorable Edgar Erisi of Caloocan City, that with due respect to the Honorable Danilo Suarez, if he will question the validity of the proclamation of the Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines, then he may as well question, Madam Speaker, the validity of the proclamation of the President of the Republic of the Philippines. I believe that was clearly answered by our very intelligent sponsor, and the Comelec has also given its position on this issue, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much.
Are there any interpellators?
I move that we recognize the Honorable Minority Floor Leader, Congressman Danny Suarez.
Any objections? Hearing none. Motion is approved. Honorable Suarez, Minority Leader is recognized. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. After conferring with the sponsor and with the firm assurance of the new leadership of Comelec that the incident of 2016 will not happen again, and that they'll be guided by the advocacy of how important is their office in terms of suffrage. This representation, Madam Speaker, is withdrawing the earlier motion of suspending the proposed budget for Comelec, and in behalf of the minority, we raise no more question for the proposed budget of Comelec. I so move.
Thank you, Honorable Suarez. Majority Floor Leader.
Madam Speaker, on behalf of the majority, we join the minority in terminating the period of interpellation on the budget of the Commission on Elections.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved. Congratulations. Okay. Session suspended. Majority Floor Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we take up the budget of the National Commission on Muslim Filipinos.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved. Majority Floor Leader.
Sponsor this budget, Madam Speaker. We have the distinguished gentleman from Lanao del Norte, the Honorable Khalid Dimaporo. I move that the gentleman be recognized.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved. Honorable Dimaporo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First and foremost, I'd like to apologize to the Ncmf family for making them wait for so long. It has been an annual problem for all of us, Muslim Filipinos, when we go to Hajj every year for our religious compliance. When we reach to Saudi, we always find na kulang ang accommodations, kulang ang pagkain. It's as if the pilgrims are not getting what they paid for. And I simply ask one thing from our new Secretary Pangurungan, and that's to provide this representation, the budgetary documents to show that the Hajj pilgrimage program will be above board. Unfortunately, his predecessor did not have proper turnover of documents. So I'm planning to file a resolution to investigate the Ncmf and ensure that the Hajj pilgrimage funds will not be wasted and taken advantage of. And I have the commitment of our Secretary that the lapses that happened in the previous administration will not happen again. So now I am willing to submit, Madam Speaker, to the floor the budget for 2019 for the National Commission of Muslim Filipinos, the total amount of 500,957,000, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker,
for such
there
a
will be no
passionate sponsorship.
we will have no interpellations on this budget. So with that, Madam Speaker, I move that we recognize the distinguished minority leader, the Honorable Danilo Suarez.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved. The minority leader, Honorable Danilo Suarez, is recognized.
Madam Speaker, on behalf of the minority, we raise no questions on the proposed budget of the said office, but on the condition that we take serious cognitions on the statement of the sponsor regarding the said funds. I so move, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Suarez. Majority Floor Leader.
Madam Speaker, the majority joins the minority in its motion to terminate the interpellations on the budget of the National Commission on Muslim Affairs. I so move, Madam Speaker.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved. Congratulations. Session suspended.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to recognize the gentleman from First District of Lanao del Norte, Representative Muhammad Khalid Dimaporo, to answer questions, if any, on the budget of the Opapp. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Muhammad Khalid Dimaporo is recognized to sponsor the budget of the Office of the Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Speaker, I would like to sponsor the budget of the Office of the Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process, the amount of 688,659,000 pesos for the calendar year 2019.
It's more than 7 billion increase.
That is correct, Mr. Speaker.
What was the item of expenditure wherein the huge fund was allotted?
Mr. Speaker, that is the Pamana program. In the year 2016, the Pamana program was allocated to specific line agencies. But in the calendar year 2017, it has been reallocated to Opapp as the implementing agency.
So in 2017, as made mention by distinguished sponsor, Mr. Speaker, there were already item of expenditure identified to where the fund shall be utilized as approved by Congress. Am I correct?
That's correct, Mr. Speaker.
And you made mention that there was reallocation. What does it mean, distinguished sponsor? Does it mean that the item of expenditure that were identified in 2017, which was approved by Congress, were not followed anymore?
Mr. Speaker, what it means is that I believe the executive looked at the implementation of Pamana. The implementation of Pamana among the different national line agencies. And I believe that what they found was there has been a low utilization of the fund or the program because Pamana was treated as a secondary or tertiary priority of the respective line agencies. So in 2017, the attempt of the executive was to allocate the Pamana funds under the office of Opapp, under the agency of Opapp, so that Opapp will directly implement the said Pamana funds. And on that year, 2017, unlike its previous years, the utilization of the Pamana program was roughly 99%.
In 2017?
In 2017.
Let me cite one of the findings of the COA. In its annual audit report for 2017, COA said, Opapp has unliquidated fund transfer totaling to 267,451,896.29 to be exact, distinguished sponsors, which have remained outstanding from 2 to more than 10 years. So this has been addressed already by the leadership of Opapp. If this is already that long, that will not address.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. From what I understand again, you have to remember that the Pamana program was being implemented by different agencies prior to 2017. It's in 2017 that the budget or the program was under the full control of Opapp. So, for example, that money that the Honorable Bravo is citing is actually being transferred to DND and the AFP. And to this day, Opapp is fighting so that it can have its books cleared and the DND and AFP return those programs. That's the difficulty with the Pamana program. If you do not give the Pamana program under the full control of the office of Opapp as an agency, then liability lies with different line agencies. Not only Opapp, but also DND, AFP, DA, DSWD, DOH. Yan ang problema. So, in 2017, this is not, again, we're not discussing the 2019 budget, which should be a non-issue because the Pamana program more or less has been slashed. We're going back in history to discuss the 2017 Opapp budget. This is the problem that was hopefully been rectified in the 2017 budget. But if we're going to go back to the 10 years prior to, yes, I admit, that's the problem of the Pamana program. Kung pasa ng budget, it is an administrative mess and an auditing mess. So sana lang, we will maintain it in one agency. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, next to interpolate is the Honorable Mahmoud Mending of Party List Anak Mindanao.
Representative Mending is recognized to interpolate the good sponsor of the budget for Presidential Advisor of Peace Process.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. With our very good friend, the gentleman from Lanao del Norte accept some questions?
Alaikum assalam, Mr. Speaker. I'll be happy to entertain the questions of our #1 party list in the province of Lanao del Norte.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor. I do not want to belabor this House for discussing some more of Pamana, and the Honorable Bravo has exhausted the past. May I ask for the future, Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor, what are we looking at in terms of Pamana for 2019?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As far as Pamana 2019, the project is not funded in the GAA.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor. Are we made to believe that it is the policy of the government to discontinue Pamana program?
Mr. Speaker, I would not venture out to say that that is the policy of the Duterte administration. I believe our President's primordial concern, especially for the region of Mindanao, is to establish peace in our area. So we're hoping that the Pamana program will be reinstalled. I believe it has been removed in the 2019 GAA because of the cash-based budgeting policies of Secretary Diokno.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor. I believe that we are given a chance here in the House to determine what truly is the policy of this government. We are in a position to restore the budget for Pamana program, Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor. So may I know from the distinguished sponsor, what effort would he make to be able to restore the budget for the Pamana program?
In my power as Vice Chairmanship, I will simply sponsor this budget and cross my fingers that the Pamana program will be reinstated under the leadership of our Speaker, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. But should it not be reinstated, I humbly submit to the will of the majority.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor. Having heard that, on the part of this humble representative, there are two of us here for Anak Mindanao party list. For as long as we can, for how much as we can, we will commit to continue in supporting the Pamana program. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor.
Thank you, Representative Mendeng. Majority Leader.
Now, the President himself, the Commander-in-Chief, stated again that the communist insurgency will end in 2019. My question is, distinguished sponsor, are we in the understanding that the road in ending communist insurgency is not by peace process as the principal mandate of Opapp or by virtue of another military solution?
Mr. Speaker, as the former governor of Lanao del Norte that has experienced conflict, our province has experienced conflict over decades. The other solution or the military solution will never prevail. So peace hopefully can achieve or can be best achieved through diplomacy. And as far as the communist insurgency is concerned, I think the statements of the President were really to provide hope and a general direction for Opapp to try their best to do the impossible. And as far as the communist insurgency is concerned, again, if there has been an instruction to cease and desist in terms of the negotiations for peace in the national level, Opapp is still continuing to do their duty by assisting and prodding local government units to host localized peace talks with the communist insurgency, Mr. Speaker.
Well, I fully agree with the distinguished sponsor, Mr. Speaker, that it cannot be resolved by means of military approach or solution. However, the localized peace negotiation or peace talks being articulated by the distinguished sponsor, may I know if there are already local government units conducting such efforts with local communist leaders or local communist organizations?
Mr. Speaker, there are efforts already and several local government units that are engaging with the local communist insurgents. And I'd like to also give Lanao del Norte as an example. Kapatagan Valley was once a hotbed of communist insurgency. And with constant, monthly, quarterly, annual diplomatic mechanisms between the mayors and the barangays, over a period of 3 years, we were able to declare Kapatagan Valley of Lanao del Norte as insurgency-free. So, to answer the question of the Honorable Casilaw, as of now, Opapp is working on it. Have they achieved it? They've made some progress. God willing, peace will prevail, and hopefully in the coming years, we will find some sort of common ground between the local government units and their counterparts in this communist rebel command.
There being no other members who wishes to interpolate on the budget of the Opapp, we move therefore to terminate the period of interpolation. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Any objection? The chair is none. The motion is approved.
This is Countryside News Channel, your official online and cable news channel, giving you the latest information from the province of Lanao del Norte, Countryside News Channel.